Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are plumbing the depths of a culinary category that, frankly, I thought I was an expert in,
Oh, you and me both.
until I saw the sheer volume and just the creativity of the sources we're looking at today. We are talking about the humble, yet arguably the most versatile ingredient on the planet,
Potato.
the potato. Diving into this specific collection of preparations has been less like reviewing a recipe book and more like finding, I don't know, a treasure map where X marks the spot for every innovative technique you could possibly imagine.
It truly is an extraordinary compendium, isn't it? I mean, when we think of the potato, we often default to, fries, mash, maybe a simple baked jacket.
The usual suspect.
Exactly. But as you said, this collection immediately elevates it. The potato is, it's a foundational global staple. It's historically anchored entire populations from its origin in the Andes to its status as a core crop across Europe and Asia. And what makes this deep dive so compelling is seeing how that sheer adaptability plays out across different cultures and all these different technical applications.
Exactly. The source material here is organized almost like a masterclass in potato physics. It moves far beyond simple cookery. Just looking at some of the titles, Alsatian potato puffs, the Hungarian potato crust known as Burgonyakkereg,
Oh yeah, the Leban sleeves.
Leban sleeves, you immediately grasp that we're analyzing these complex, internationally influenced techniques where the potato is being leveraged not just for bulk, but for structure and for texture.
Right. So our mission today, then, is to guide you, the listener, through this extensive structure. We're going beyond just listing ingredients.
Way beyond.
We want to offer shortcuts to understanding which techniques are genuinely game-changing. For instance, why hot dressing works better in certain salads, and which ingredient pairings move a dish from, common comfort food to something
Special.
something excellent. It's about extracting those high-impact insights quickly.
Okay, let's unpack this versatility. Let's start right from the top of the table of contents and give you an immediate sense of the sheer scope we're dealing with here.
If we just look at the scope that's laid out, there are 50 distinct entries listed across just the initial pages. It really paints a picture of intense global creativity centered on this one vegetable.
50.
50. And we can quickly group these recipes into several key thematic areas, and these themes, they tell us a lot about the potato's role in modern cookery.
And the first and perhaps most dominant theme that just leaps out at you is the absolute depth of the potato salad category. It is not just one or two traditional styles.
Not at all.
It's an entire regional and imaginative exploration of the cold and the warm potato. We see this very light, refreshing approach in the apple potato salad, which relies on fruit acidity and celery crunch rather than, heavy fats.
And that contrasts so sharply with other entries, which really highlights the potato's role as a flavor sponge. You have the rich, savory complexity of the bacon avocado potato salad.
Which we have to talk about later. The use of infused fat is brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. And then there's the heat and the intensity of the Cajun potato salad. Those three examples alone show three completely different philosophical approaches to what a potato salad can even be.
A variety is it's extensive. We also find the adaptation of the classic KFC macaroni or potato salad, which kind of confirms the interchangeability of starches when they serve as a vehicle for a complex dressing.
Right, and the substitution is really specific. It's not just swap pasta for potato. It's swapping out elbow macaroni for 8 cups of cooked, cubed, and chilled potatoes. And then you have to adjust the fresh ingredients, adding an extra cup of celery and replacing dried onions with snipped scallions.
So why is that swap so significant? Why the extra celery?
Well, the potato starch absorbs that heavy, tangy, sweet dressing, the sour cream, Miracle Whip, Hellmann's mayo, sugar, mustard, all of it. It absorbs it differently than pasta does.
Oh.
The potato holds the flavor more evenly, which is why those texture components, like the extra celery and the fresh scallions, they become even more important for balance. It needs more crunch.
That makes sense.
And then you see other things like the Madison Avenue potato salad, the mustard potato salad, the new generation potato salad, which brings in yogurt and blue cheese. They all demonstrate that the potato is the ultimate neutral canvas for dressings that range from sweet tangy to sharp savory.
Speaking of staples, we see a serious effort to elevate mashed potatoes. This category is far from boring. The titles themselves promise these aggressive flavor profiles.
Right.
You have recipes like Killer Mashed Potatoes, which incorporates horseradish and Parmesan cheese, transforming what could be a bland side into this active, almost aggressive component of the meal.
And then you get the almost decadent extreme with mashed potatoes, with mascarpone cheese and roasted garlic.
Oh, yeah.
Mascarpone, I mean, that's an incredibly rich double or triple cream cheese. It just signals a texture, maximal velvety smoothness. But as we noted, the list maintains a balance.
It does.
The inclusion of low-fat garlic mashed potatoes, which substitutes the traditional dairy fat with skim milk, non-fat plain yogurt, and uses 8 cups of chicken broth for boiling. That shows a commitment to achieving flavor and texture goals through smart substitution, not just traditional methods.
Moving into the oven, the baked and stuffed options demonstrate a sort of architectural creativity. It's not just about adding toppings.
No, it's about rebuilding the structure itself.
Exactly. We see classics like Mr. Food's twice-baked potatoes, but then these much more ambitious multi-stage creations like baked potatoes stuffed with acorn squash.
And the sweet potato is not forgotten. The inclusion of Mr. Food's stuffed baked sweet potatoes and the infamous bourbon sweet potatoes shows the collection really embraces the tuber's ability to anchor dessert or holiday dishes.
Right. The natural sugar content of the sweet potato allows for entirely different flavor pairings, often involving spices, butter, and, alcoholic extracts like bourbon.
What perhaps most vividly tells the story of the potato's global role, though, is the sheer range of international and structural preparations. We mentioned the Alsatian potato puffs, which are essentially these baked, sophisticated croquettes.
Right.
But then you have preparations that fundamentally change the potato's form.
Yes, preparations like Bergen-Jakareg, which is explicitly defined as a potato crust, and mashed potato crust, where the potato pulp literally replaces the pastry.
And that highlights the potato's latent structural ability. It's not just filler. It can bind and hold its shape under heat.
And the soup section confirms this versatility. We start with a recognizable, Bennigan's potato soup, which relies on a classic roux for richness.
Yeah.
But then we leap to broccoli vichyssoise, a chilled soup, and then kugela.
Which is technically a baked grated potato casserole, not really a typical soup.
Exactly. And finally, there's Lebensleeves, that complex Hungarian soup that uses the potato alongside a homemade dried dough component.
My analysis, just based on the breadth of these 50 titles, is that the potato is definitively the ultimate culinary chameleon.
It has to be.
It adapts its texture, it absorbs flavor, and it provides structure for virtually any cuisine or meal component. Whether it's anchoring savory mains like Mom's Magic Meatloaf, where the mashed potato is used for decorative piping, or acting as a thickening agent, it's rarely just a side.
That sets the stage beautifully. Now, let's move past the titles and start diving into the actual nuts and bolts, the techniques and ingredients that deliver these incredible results. We're going to start right at the beginning, from recipe 1, and extract the highest value insights.
Do it.
Let's start with a genuine shortcut for modern cooking. Recipe number 1, all-purpose potato-based gravy. This is a game changer because it entirely bypasses the traditional flour or cornstarch roux. It's built purely on the potato's natural chemistry.
And what's fascinating here is the sheer efficiency. The ingredients list is minimal. 2 small potatoes, 1 cup of water, concentrated vegetable stock, olive oil, a coarsely minced brown onion, and black pepper.
Pretty simple.
Very. The technical insight is how it leverages the potato's high starch and pectin content via a high-speed preparation method.
And the method is the key shortcut you need to remember. You microwave the 2 small potatoes for 8 minutes. That intense heat rapidly breaks down the starch. Then they're immediately transferred into a blender with the water and whirled till pureed. That smooth, almost milky puree is then the base.
And here's the why. That blending process, combined with the high heat of the microwave, it releases the starches and pectins into the liquid far faster than simmering or reduction ever could.
Right.
This puree is then combined with the sautéed onions and stock base. You cook it until it's the thickness you want, and the result is this velvety mouthfeel without any gluten. It's not just fast, it's an excellent option for gluten-free thickening, and it achieves that stabilization almost instantly.
Moving on to number 2, Aloha sweet potatoes. We pivot entirely to simplicity and glazing technique. 4 medium sweet potatoes, half a cup of preserved pineapples, and 2 tablespoons of butter. That's it.
This is a lesson in gentle heat application. The unpeeled potatoes are boiled for 25 minutes until they're tender. After cooling and peeling, they're sliced to a ½ inch thickness. And the crucial step is the glazing.
So what's the trick there?
The preserved pineapples, which are already concentrated in sugar and syrup, are melted in a skillet along with the butter. The slices are then added and just gently cooked and lightly tossed until they are thoroughly glazed.
The insight here has to be the use of preserved pineapple. The high sugar content in that preserved fruit ensures the glazing process happens quickly and creates a stable, glossy coating without requiring you to, make a separate syrup.
It's a low-effort way to deliver a rich tropical side dish that relies on pre-concentrated sweetness.
Okay, speaking of heat, let's turn to recipe number 3, Alsatian potato puffs. Now, this preparation, while it's based on a classic baked croquette, it contains a fascinating and frankly alarming technical instruction that we have to analyze carefully.
Yeah, this one jumped out at me immediately.
The ingredients are pretty standard for a sophisticated puff. 2 pounds of potatoes, 2 beaten eggs, 2 tablespoons of flour, a tablespoon of melted butter, parsley, garlic, nutmeg, pepper, salt, paprika. You peel and mash the boiled potatoes, combine them with the binding agents.
Butter, eggs, flour.
Right, and then you season. They are dropped by tablespoonfuls into a greased baking dish.
And here is the instruction that immediately flags for analysis. The directions explicitly state to bake the puffs for 12 minutes at 2,325 degrees Fahrenheit.
2,325 degrees.
Now, to be clear, this is a temperature used in metallurgy or glass blowing, not home cooking. It is a critical and kind of hilarious typographical error in the source material.
Right. We have to report the source as written.
Right.
If we perform the analysis, even assuming it's a common typo for, say, 425 degrees F, the technique is clear. This is a 2-stage high-heat process.
Exactly.
After that initial, presumably very hot, bake, they are sprinkled with paprika and then run under the broiler to brown them.
The insight is not the impossible temperature, but the intent behind it. The technique emphasizes 2 things. Rapid volume expansion, the puff effect, achieved by placing that cold, structured potato mix into a very hot oven.
Right.
And achieving a beautiful, crisp, browned exterior after the initial cooking is complete, using paprika for color and the broiler for that focused final heat. It's all about achieving crispness without deep frying.
Let's pivot from that high heat to the cool crunch of salad. Recipe number 4, apple potato salad, is the epitome of a fresh, light approach. 4 small new potatoes, 1 large peeled apple, 4 stalks of finely chopped celery, and a simple dressing.
And the dressing is just a 1/4 cup of no oil and a 1/4 teaspoon of dill. That's it.
So the lightness is the entire goal here. By using new potatoes, which are lower in starch and hold their shape better, and a no-oil dressing, they belong entirely on the fresh crunch of the apple and celery and that bright herbaceous flavor of dill.
And the key instruction is chilling for hours. Because the dressing lacks a strong acidic base like vinegar or mayo, that long chill time is essential for the subtle flavors of the dill and the no oil to actually permeate and flavor those relatively bland new potatoes.
Now compare that delicate technique to recipe number 5, bacon avocado potato salad, which shifts dramatically toward richness and flavor infusion.
A total 180.
6 medium potatoes, 8 bacon slices, 2 large cubed avocados, and half a cup of chopped onions. The dressing is this complex mix of white wine, cider vinegar, lime juice, mustard, paprika, salt, pepper, cilantro, and parsley.
This is a technical masterclass in flavor absorption.
Yeah.
The bacon is fried, and crucially, the excess fat, the intensely flavorful bacon oil, is retained to saute the onions until they're golden.
And that's just the start.
It is. But here is the critical technique. Once the potatoes are boiled, peeled, and diced while they are still warm, they are immediately tossed with the spiced liquid mixture, the heated wine, vinegar, mustard, and seasonings.
Okay, I think we need to emphasize that step. Why toss the potatoes when they're warm? What's the science there?
When potatoes are warm, their starch granules are swollen and gelatinized. That makes them highly porous and absorbent.
Like little sponges.
Exactly. Tossing them with a hot, acidic, and spice liquid allows them to just wick up that flavor deep into the potato structure instantly. If you wait until they're cold, the exterior starch hardens and the flavor stays trapped only on the surface. That warm toss technique is the secret to a profound potato salad flavor.
And only after cooling the entire mixture down are the fresh, delicate elements. The cilantro, the parsley, the crumbled bacon, and the cubed avocado incorporated.
Right, because if you added them while it was hot, the herbs would wilt and the avocado would turn to mush.
So the distinction between the cold apple potato salad and this bacon avocado version is night and day. It just proves that potato salad is a technique-driven category.
It absolutely is. It creates a foundational deep flavor in the potato itself before adding the fresh elements.
Finally, in this first detailed batch, number 6, Baked drumsticks with potatoes. This sounds like simple comfort food, but the instructions require some serious culinary patience and detail, especially with the chicken prep.
The recipe calls for 8 large chicken drumsticks and 2 russet potatoes cut into 1-inch wedges, layered with sliced onions and Italian plum tomatoes. The seasoning is intense. Olive oil, salt, pepper, dry oregano, minced Italian parsley.
But the first instruction is the most telling about the desired outcome.
Yeah, it's about painstakingly removing the chicken skin by slipping your fingers under it to loosen it, snipping the membranes, and peeling the skin off.
That is a deliberate, multi-step process. I'm guessing it's aimed at achieving a cleaner, less fatty finished product.
That's my read on it, too. It allows the complex herb seasonings and the oil to penetrate the meat directly rather than just glazing the skin. The layered arrangement then follows. Drumsticks, potatoes, onions, tomatoes. It's seasoned, drizzled with oil, covered with a foil, and baked for 25 minutes. And that covering phase is key for steam. It tenderizes the chicken and ensures the denser potatoes are cooked evenly alongside it.
And the final stage is essential for browning. The foil is removed, the dish is basted with the pan drippings, and then it continues baking and basting for another 25 minutes till everything is tender and colored.
It demonstrates a really precise approach to managing moisture. Covered for tenderness, uncovered for flavor concentration and crisping.
Let's jump to the complex multi-stage preparations, starting with recipe number 7. Baked potatoes, stuffed with acorn squash. This is a highly sophisticated dish, almost a constructed vegetarian main course.
It's a project.
It is. We're dealing with 4 Idaho potatoes, 2 acorn squash, heavy cream, shallots, sage, Parmesan cheese, and 3 cups of coarse sea salt.
And that sea salt is the first high-level technique. It's used as a baking base, filling the roasting pan. The instructions detail a precise 2-stage baking process. First, the squash is baked cut side down, and simultaneously, the Idaho potatoes are placed directly on that 3-cup bed of coarse sea salt and baked for an hour.
What's the purpose of that salt bed? Is it just for presentation, or is there a functional reason?
Oh, it's far from it. It's highly functional. Placing the potatoes directly on the salt achieves 2 technical objectives. First, it provides perfectly even heat distribution, ensuring the bottom of the potato cooks as evenly as the top.
Okay, that makes sense.
Second, and more importantly, it aggressively wicks moisture away from the potato skin. This yields a superior, crisp texture and results in a drier, fluffier potato pulp inside. And that drier pulp is essential for the next step.
Those next steps involve some painstaking preparation of the filling. After baking, the potatoes are cooled, their pulp is scooped out, and the squash flesh is pureed smoothly. But crucially, the pureed squash must then be drained on a sieve for 1 full hour.
That hour of draining is the hallmark of a professional-level recipe. Acorn squash, like most vegetables, holds a significant amount of water.
A lot of water.
If you skip this draining step, when you combine the squash with the dry potato pulp and the cream, the final filling will be too watery. It'll be sloppy and unstable. Draining ensures the filling maintains its structural integrity for the piping stage.
The filling is then completed by incorporating sautéed sage and shallots, cream, and Parmesan. And the final move is purely architectural. The filling is spooned into a piping bag, piped back into the potato shells, placed back on the saved salt bed.
For stabilization and moisture control again.
Right. And baked again at a lower temperature, 350 degrees F, for another 30 minutes. It is a labor of love that just screams precision.
Moving from architectural mains to classic comfort, number 8, Bennigan's potato soup demonstrates a very reliable restaurant-style thickening method. The recipe uses 2 pounds of bite-sized potatoes, 8 cups of chicken stock, diced yellow onion, ham base, whole milk, and critically, 6 ounces total of margarine and 3 ounces of sifted flour.
So the method relies on constructing a classic roux, but it integrates it efficiently. First, 3 ounces of margarine and the onion are sautéed. Then the stock, ham base, potatoes, and pepper are added and brought to a boil.
But the separate thickening step is key. Another 2 ounces of margarine are melted, and the 3 ounces of sifted flour are added to form the roux. Once the main stock boils, the roux is whisked in constantly.
Okay.
This process allows the starch granules in the flour to swell and gelatinize, stabilizing the liquid immediately. Then the milk is gradually incorporated. This 2-part process thickening via a structured roux, then enriching with milk, is essential for achieving a very creamy, stable, smooth consistency that holds up under heat without separating. It's what large-scale kitchens require.
Let's discuss achieving texture through simpler low-fat heating methods. Recipe number 9, better than fireside potatoes. This is an exercise in simplicity. 1 pound of red potatoes with skins, a coarsely chopped sweet onion, finely chopped scallions, and pepper.
The technique here relies on controlled steam and evaporation. It avoids deep frying. The boiled and coarsely chopped potatoes, mixed with the raw onions and scallions, are transferred to a non-stick skillet with just a little water.
Just a little water.
And they cook for 15 minutes, turning occasionally until they become slightly browned.
So the water is the crucial element there.
Yeah.
It quickly turns to steam, creating a humid environment that ensures the onions soften and the interior of the potato is heated through without drying out.
Exactly. And once that water evaporates, the residual heat allows the potatoes to crisp up and brown slightly against the pan, creating texture without significant added fat.
This controlled low-heat idea is mirrored later in Recipe 12,
Yeah.
Boston Chicken Dill Potato Wedges. This method is all about gentle, long-duration warming.
It is. The seasoned wedges are placed on a Pam-sprayed oven-proof dish. That dish is then placed inside a larger pan containing 1 inch of water. The oven is set to a low temperature, 300 degrees F, for 1 hour.
That is essentially creating a makeshift bain-marie.
A steam oven, basically.
Yeah, the insight here is the ability to hold potatoes at a serving temperature for an extended period without them drying out or becoming tough. The steam-infused environment ensures they remain moist and tender while soaking up a seasoning. It's an excellent technique for catering or, serving a delayed meal.
Now back to the sweet side, number 13, bourbon sweet potatoes. The ingredients are rich, canned, drained, and mashed sweet potatoes, brown sugar, melted butter, bourbon vanilla, and miniature marshmallows.
And the key technique is the lengthy, preemptive chill time. All the ingredients except the marshmallows are mixed thoroughly, spooned into the baking dish, covered, and placed in the refrigerator for 8 hours or overnight.
That extended chilling period is fundamental for flavor integration. It allows the complex aromatic flavors of the bourbon and vanilla to fully meld with the sweet potato and sugar mixture before any heat is applied.
So it deepens the flavor profile.
Considerably. It ensures the bourbon is integrated, not just overpowering. The marshmallows naturally are added only for the final 7 minutes for browning and texture.
Let's analyze one of the most elaborate entries we've seen, number 16. Buttermilk blue potatoes au gratin. This recipe is an elaborate study in layered flavor and complex sauce making.
It's a monster of a recipe.
It really is. 7 parboiled russet potatoes, 3 cups of raw sliced mushrooms, blanched broccoli, Monterey Jack cheese, blue cheese, shallots, garlic, buttermilk, milk, mayonnaise, Dijon mustard, Worcestershire, and crushed potato chips.
The sauce base is chemically fascinating. It starts with a standard roux butter, garlic, shallots, then flour, then milk and buttermilk. After it thickens, it's taken off the heat and flavored with this extensive list that includes mayonnaise, Dijon mustard, and Worcestershire.
Why so much complexity in the sauce? Why not just, cream and cheese?
The acidic elements, the buttermilk, the Dijon, the Worcestershire, they serve 2 purposes. They stabilize the richness of the dairy, preventing the final dish from tasting overly heavy or cloying.
Okay.
And they inhibit the cheese from breaking down into an oily mess when it's baked. The mayonnaise acts as an additional stabilizer and emulsifier, helping to achieve that smooth, homogeneous texture.
The layering is also highly specific.
Yeah.
Half the sliced potatoes on the bottom, then the mushrooms, half the sauce, grated cheese, then the remaining potatoes and sauce. It's baked for 45 minutes. But what really defines this recipe is the finish.
It's a meticulous 3-part finish focused on texture and visual appeal. First, you sprinkle over crushed potato chips and bake for 10 minutes. That provides the aggressive contrast and crunch.
Right.
Second, you remove it, decorate the edge with the blanched broccoli and diced pimiento, adding color and freshness. Finally, it's baked again for 5 more minutes to just warm the garnish. This level of detail elevates it far beyond a simple casserole.
Bringing us back to the principles of flavor infusion, we look at number 17, Cajun potato salad. This powerfully confirms the value of that hot dressing technique we talked about.
Absolutely. The ingredients include red potatoes, smoked kielbasa, red and green onions, parsley, cider vinegar, olive oil, Dijon mustard, garlic, black pepper, and half a teaspoon of cayenne.
A classic warm potato salad preparation.
It is. After cooking and slicing the potatoes, they're tossed with some of the vinegar, onions, and parsley. But the technical insight is in the dressing preparation. The kielbasa is cooked, removed, and then the remaining dressing components, the oil, garlic, mustard, cayenne, remaining vinegar, are boiled intensely in the skillet drippings, right in that residual sausage fat.
So that intensely flavored hot liquid is then poured immediately over the warm potato mixture and tossed gently.
And the heat and the vinegar, combined with the spicy components, they penetrate the warm potato rapidly, infusing the flavor deep into the starch, creating a profile that you just cannot achieve with a cold marinade. Serving it at once maximizes the impact of the heat and spices.
Let's transition into some of the more exotic or structure-focused preparations found deeper in the source material, starting with number 18, caviar potatoes.
Ooh, fancy.
This is pure culinary elegance built on extreme simplicity. 7 small new potatoes, sour cream, and 2½ teaspoons each of black and drained gold caviar.
The method is almost entirely absent of cooking complexity. You boil, chill, and slice the new potatoes to a 1/4 inch thick. The complexity is derived entirely from the quality of the topping. The potato here functions purely as a mild, cold structural base.
A vehicle.
A vehicle, exactly. Allowing the luxurious flavors of the caviar and the cooling richness of the sour cream to dominate. It's a masterclass in minimalist presentation.
Contrast that simple elegance with number 19, charred new potato and fennel salad, which focuses entirely on intense texture and flavor via extreme heat.
Right. Red potatoes, 2 fennel bulbs, olive oil, salt, pepper, Niçoise olives, green onions, and red wine vinegar.
And the unique technique is the broiler charring. The potatoes and fennel are tossed with oil, arranged in a single layer, and placed under a preheated broiler.
And the instruction is to broil for 5 minutes on each side until they are slightly black and blistered before finishing them in the oven at 400 degrees for another 15 to 20 minutes.
That's a highly effective technique for building flavor complexity. You rapidly introduce a smoky, intense bitterness from the char.
Which then contrasts beautifully with the acidic red wine vinegar and the savory, salty Niçoise olives when all the elements are combined.
Right, and the dicing and tossing occurs while the potatoes are cooling, which helps the vinegar dressing penetrate slightly without creating a warm salad effect.
Recipe 20, Char's hot dog hash, brings us back to classic Americana, but still emphasizes an important preparatory step. 6 medium cubed potatoes, 6 red casing hot dogs, a medium mild onion, and basic seasonings.
The key here is ensuring textural consistency. To guarantee the potatoes cook evenly and achieve that desired golden hash texture, the cubed potatoes must be parboiled first.
Until they're slightly softened.
Right. This partial cooking allows them to finish frying simultaneously with the onions and hot dogs without the center of the potato cubes remaining raw or starchy. Skipping the parboil ruins the texture.
Absolutely. Now let's dedicate some serious analytical time to the structural uses of potatoes, comparing 3 distinct methods: the sieved mash, the raw grated cake, and the raw grated casserole.
Okay, let's start with number 22. Burgonyaköreg, the Hungarian potato crust. 1 pound of potatoes, 2 large eggs, unsalted butter, and flat parsley.
This method is all about achieving the lightest possible texture. The potatoes are boiled, peeled, and then the pulp is forced onto a sieve before it is allowed to cool.
Through a sieve, not just mashed.
Exactly. The sieving step is used by professional pastry chefs to achieve a perfectly fine, aerated, lump-free potato mash. If you just mash it, you overwork the starch and get gluey results.
I've done that. It's not good.
We've all done that. Sieving ensures lightness. This fine mixture is then combined with butter, eggs, and parsley, used to line buttered barquettes and baked at 375 for just 10 minutes. It is precise structural potato pastry.
Now compare that to recipe 27, Kugila. This is a large baked casserole requiring 5 pounds of raw grated potatoes, combined with bacon, eggs, grated onions, salt, and milk.
The difference is stark. Burgonyaköreg uses boiled processed starch for a delicate crust. Kugila relies on the raw starch. When raw grated potatoes are combined with the binder, the eggs and the moisture, the milk, and then baked, the raw starch slowly gelatinizes over a long cooking period,
creating a much denser structure.
A dense, firm, sturdy casserole structure, much heavier than a light crust. The bacon and onions, lightly sautéed, provide the essential flavor base. And the 2-stage baking, from 400 down to 300, manages the complex cooking time required for that volume of raw potato.
Then we have number 28, latkes, or grated potato pancakes. This again uses raw grated potatoes, onion, eggs, flour, and salt. But the critical technique here is moisture control.
Absolutely crucial. After grating the potatoes, the key step is immediately squeezing the liquid out, whether with cheesecloth or a clean towel, before mixing the batter.
Why is that so important?
The liquid that comes out is primarily water and free starch. If you leave that liquid in, the batter will be loose and the excess moisture will steam the latch case instead of allowing them to fry and crisp up in the hot oil. For crispness, removing that moisture is non-negotiable.
So we have 3 structural techniques just there. Boiled and sieved for light crusts, raw, grated, and wet for a dense casserole, and raw, grated, and squeezed for crispy fried cakes. That's a huge insight just from comparing 3 recipes.
It is. Let's look at 2 more complex international entries. Number 29, Leben sleeves or Lebent soup. This Hungarian rustic soup uses cubed potatoes, beef broth, diced smoked bacon, onion, green pepper, paprika, and chopped tomato. But the Lebens element is the most compelling.
The Lebens is the homemade dough component. A simple flour, egg, and salt mixture, kneaded, rolled very thinly, and allowed to dry for about 2 hours, then intentionally broken into pieces.
This is a soup where the structure is built by the potato, but the flavor is built by the fat and the dough. The process dictates frying the diced smoked bacon and setting it aside. Then the broken dough pieces and the chopped onion are cooked directly in the bacon drippings until they are browned and caramelized.
Wow.
That step creates an intense, smoky, savory foundation that flavors the entire soup base before the potatoes, broth, and vegetables are added and simmered. It's a method that maximizes depth of flavor through fat rendering and caramelization.
Moving back to convenience, Recipe 24, cheesy scallop potatoes, shows the classic casserole preparation using convenience ingredients. Thinly sliced potatoes and onions, canned condensed cream of mushroom soup, milk, sharp cheddar, butter, and paprika.
The efficiency here is substituting a complex, scratch-made sauce with a ready-to-use canned soup base, diluted slightly with milk.
A classic shortcut.
A classic shortcut. The layering is critical: potatoes, onion, sauce, and cheese. And it's baked covered for 1 hour. The covering allows the potatoes to fully steam and soften thoroughly, ensuring a tender final texture before being uncovered for the final 15 minutes to achieve browning. It's a time saver that respects the necessary cooking time of the sliced potato.
And Recipe 25, the KFC macaroni or potato salad variation, gives us a chance to look closer at that complex dressing. Sour cream, Miracle Whip, Hellmann's mayonnaise, prepared mustard, refined sugar, onion, salt, and pepper.
This is a fascinating study in balancing flavor extremes. The Miracle Whip and mustard provide the necessary tang and acidity, while the Hellmann's, which is high-fat, stable mayonnaise, and the sour cream provide richness and stability.
And the sugar cuts the acid.
Right. The refined sugar counters the acidity, making the dressing deeply satisfying, while the onion salt provides the savory depth. And the substitution of the 8 cups of cooked, cubed, and chilled potatoes for the macaroni must also involve replacing dried onions with fresh snipped scallions and adding extra celery, a recognition that the potato requires more aggressive textural contrast than soft pasta.
Let's revisit the flavor accelerators. Recipe 26, killer mashed potatoes, introduces 1 tablespoon of horseradish, fresh or prepared, mashed into the potatoes, along with sautéed scallions, garlic powder, and Parmesan cheese.
Horseradish is a game changer. It contains volatile oils and compounds that deliver an intense, sharp, sinus-clearing heat.
It really does.
Adding it transforms the mashed potato from a passive, bland side dish into a dynamic, active component. It's an example of how one strong ingredient can redefine the purpose of a classic staple.
Finally, let's look at 2 techniques for Christmas that avoid deep fat frying. Number 47, Maryland's Crispy Potatoes provides a great technique for oven crisping. Cooked, diced russet potatoes are tossed with scallions, pepper, Italian seasoning, and poured over with vegetable stock.
This is an enhanced version of that little water technique we discussed earlier. The stock serves a dual purpose. It provides the initial moisture needed to steam the potatoes and soften the onions, and unlike plain water, it imparts a layer of savory flavor while it evaporates.
Okay.
They are baked at 400 degrees, but the instruction is critical: stirring every 15 minutes until they are crisp and browned.
That constant stirring maximizes the surface area exposed to the dry, hot air and ensures that every side of the diced potato gets a chance to caramelize and crisp up.
And then they're finished under the broiler for that final, intense browning, similar to the Alsatian puff technique, but applied to a simple oven roast.
And if we look at a completely different application of the potato structure, Recipe 48 gives us mashed potato cakes made with flour. 2 cups of mashed potatoes are mixed with 2 cups of sifted flour, baking powder, salt, butter, milk, and importantly, 1 teaspoon of caraway seeds.
The combination of mashed potato and flour, aided by baking powder, turns this into a structured, bread-like preparation. After mixing, the dough is rolled, cut into squares, and cooked gently with oil.
And the caraway seeds.
The critical inclusion here is the caraway seeds. They provide a unique, warm, slightly anise-like aromatic component that prevents the cake from tasting purely like potato. It shows the potato integrating seamlessly into baked goods traditionally reserved for pure grain flours, but with enhanced moisture retention thanks to the mash.
We have to also acknowledge the health-conscious recipes. The new potato salad with dried tomatoes, number 62, maximizes flavor density while cutting fat. The dressing base is reduced fat sour cream and low-fat yogurt, with prepared white horseradish for a powerful kick, mixed with fresh herbs and celery.
The substitution of high-fat ingredients with low-fat dairy is compensated for by two things: the aggressive heat of the horseradish and the intense concentrated flavor of the dried tomatoes.
Right, sun-dried tomatoes pack a punch.
They do. The instruction is to reconstitute the dried tomato halves by letting them stand in boiling water for 10 minutes, which rehydrates them but allows them to retain their concentrated umami and sweetness. This ensures the flavor profile doesn't suffer due to the reduced fat content. It's a very smart strategy for low-fat cooking.
Wow. Okay. We have covered a colossal amount of territory, haven't we? From quick microwave blender gravies to complex three-stage au gratins and the physics of raw versus cooked starches. If I were to synthesize this journey, three specific high-level technical insights really stand out that you can apply immediately.
I agree completely. First, the efficiency demonstrated by using the potato's natural chemistry as a rapid gluten-free thickener.
Right.
The all-purpose gravy showed us how pureed potatoes and high heat can replace traditional roux methods instantly, leveraging the potato's pectin and starch.
Second, the repeated foundational technique for flavor infusion in cold or warm salads. The use of hot liquid or dressing being poured over warm potatoes, as we saw mastered in the Cajun and bacon avocado salads.
It guarantees flavor penetration deep into that porous starch structure, which a cold dressing just cannot achieve.
And third, the architectural commitment to structure and moisture control in baked dishes. This was so evident in the stuffed acorn squash, where the sea salt bed was used to wick moisture for a perfect shell.
And the squash pulp had to be drained for an hour to ensure the filling would hold its pipe shape.
That level of detail elevates the potato from a simple ingredient to a true structural component.
This collection isn't just a list of recipes, it's a manual on leveraging the properties of starches and fats for specific outcomes. We saw the efficiency in adapting dishes for healthier goals, like the low-fat garlic mashed potatoes using non-fat yogurt and skim milk, or the new potato salad relying on reduced-fat dairy.
It's about being intentional with every single ingredient choice.
The big picture conclusion is that the potato is a masterclass in culinary adaptation. One single modest vegetable can anchor savory meals, sweet desserts, act as a thickening agent, replace pastry crusts, be fried into a hash, boiled into a salad, or constructed into a firm casserole. It truly transcends basic definitions.
And if you analyze the flavor pairings that consistently appear successful across this entire spectrum of recipes, we see clear winning combinations that you can always rely on. Bacon and onion in various forms, whether fresh, sautéed, or powdered, are constants that provide savory depth. And fresh herbs, especially dill and parsley, are crucial for brightness.
And high-fat or complex dairy components, whether it's the sharpness of blue cheese, the stability of cheddar, or the velvety richness of mascarpone and sour cream, they're used to provide essential contrast and texture. These ingredients complement the potato's neutrality perfectly.
So we have seen potatoes used to create thick gravies, elegant appetizers, fluffy puffs, cold salads, and even act as a substitute for dough in pancakes and pie crusts. The question we leave you with, the listener, is based on that incredible versatility.
We've established that the potato can successfully replace traditional flour in pancakes, cakes, and structured pie crusts. This raises an important question for you to mull over until the next deep dive.
What is it?
What other traditionally flour-based preparations, specifically those requiring binding and structural integrity, like various types of dumplings, gnocchi, or certain styles of specialized steamed bread, could be successfully recreated and revolutionized using the potato as the primary high-structure base?
Go forth and experiment with the magnificent spud. We'll see you next time for the next deep dive.